Never get it twisted. Who's running? We got the feds in our pockets.
It's a setback.
Go after him.
I have a plan.
Egan will be a distant memory. We're gonna take it back.
This is a dangerous life.
I will do anything to protect her.
Now, after an action-packed episode 5, I do think we should all expect a bit of calm after the storm. It was an explosive episode with Claudia Flynn's death, so I am expecting to see and hear the fallout to that, especially because Tommy did make it known towards the end he did leave her body as a statement. He's never been one to do things quietly in the streets, so definitely expecting the fallout to Claudia's death. And I'm sure it was a statement that was also directed towards Stacey Marks. She's going to be a character who's under big pressure to deliver some results, not just to save her case, which I do think is dead in the water anyway, especially after Claudia's death, but I do think her job and her campaign are also on the line here. Now, there is also a lot to get through in this preview because there's a hell of a lot of pictures. We've got Tommy and Maria, the whole pregnancy storyline, the dinner scene, law enforcement, Vic and Ray, we've got CBI and the Insane Princes with Che. No doubt this will be another feisty meeting between the two. Jannard and Diamond are going to be strengthening their bond in this episode, and Shanti will definitely be playing her game as well. So a lot to unpack, a lot to go through, but as usual, we are going to be starting with the title and synopsis. Now, the title of episode 6 is Asset Forfeiture, and the synopsis reads, Tommy and Diamond disagree on business, while Jannard takes the opportunity to introduce a new hustle to CBI. Stacey does damage control to salvage her campaign, and Maria contemplates her future. Now, in terms of the episode title, earlier in the week we did go through the meaning of asset forfeiture, how the term actually comes from law enforcement. It's a term used by the DEA or the feds when they're seizing drugs, weapons, cash, or anything that's related to criminal activity. But in the grand scheme of things, how there are various different assets now in play in force. For example, Tommy being forfeited when it comes to CBI, and Maria contemplating her future, with another asset being their baby. Is that now at risk? So we've got Tommy and Maria together, and even though there were some doubts that creeped in towards the end, I'm still expecting Maria to tell Tommy in episode 6. I'm expecting her to keep the baby as well. It's a storyline we went through earlier in the week, and when we broke it down, when we went through all the scenarios that we've seen in the world of power, which doesn't bode well for Maria, but I do think this time will be different. It's just a gut feeling at this moment in time with them taking it in another direction. There definitely will be a scare or two along the way, that's for sure, but I do think Maria will come around. Now, there is also a dinner scene to look forward to in episode 6. We all know what dinner scenes provide us with in the world of power. So we've got Maria over here. Tommy will also tell Miguel that he'd do anything to protect Maria, and no doubt it's going to be a feisty dinner, that's for sure. We've also got Tommy meeting Miguel back at Little Village. Not too sure why or what's made Tommy roll through here. Maybe it's him offering to play nice just before they go to dinner for the sake of Maria, but we all know about the bad blood between them, and we also know what Miguel Garcia has planned. I just wonder if Maria tells Miguel that she's pregnant. If she tells him, does that then change his mind? Again, we went through the scenario earlier this week, based on the history that we've seen before with Tariq and Diana. That is something that could change the situation between Tommy and Miguel, but having said that, we all know what Miguel's planned with Roberto Ortega. And I do just wonder if it's too late to call off that hit. And if it's a hit that does go ahead, could Maria be caught in the crossfire? Definitely just some food for thought. Now, with law enforcement, we've got the return of Bobby DeFranco and a colleague. They're looking over some images of what no doubt is probably the aftermath of a bloodbath from episode 5. Diamond did say to hang up the Yardies' bodies and make it look like it was from the cartel, which may or may not conflict with Stacey Marks' investigation. We've all heard about how her and CPD aren't exactly on the same page, which could be the reason why they have a new detective or law enforcement member on their team. Who knows? But looks like we're going to be introduced to a new face or two when it comes to law enforcement. Now, we've got Stacey Marks also meeting Vic. Not sure what Stacey Marks actually wants from Vic after what went down in episode 5. She's lost her leverage, and that means Vic doesn't exactly need to do as she says. But they do still have one thing in common, don't forget. Both of them may still want to get rid of Tommy, because that's now the only thing that's standing in the way of Vic and his freedom at this moment in time. So I guess there is that. There's also Claudia's death, but it's a very dangerous game if Vic is going to decide to play that. So if Vic is acting like a double agent, then it is TikTok for Vic Flynn. We've also got him with Ray. He came clean to her about him not being Jason Booker last week. It looks like they're in a good place at this moment in time. But going forward for the future, I did pose a question last week. Now that Ray knows who Vic Flynn really is, could she help him with anything from her end? Information on Stacey Marks that could be fed back to Tommy? Or does he not want her involved in this mess of a world? If I were in Vic's shoes, I'd probably go with the second option because we know what happened to Gloria, because the Flynns are an absolute mess of a family and an absolute shit show. He definitely will try and regain some control in episode 6, but let's see what his actual plan is. and also his reaction to Claudia's death as well. I'm sure at some point he'll find out about his sister's death, and he's definitely not stupid. He'll know who was behind it. So I do want to see his reaction when he does find out about Claudia. Is he upset? Or does he kind of just shrug his shoulders and carry on? It's probably going to be a bit of a mixed reaction. Now, over to Tommy, Diamond, Miguel, and Cruz meeting with Che. The last time we saw a meeting with these guys was back in episode 4. That was when Tommy and Diamond asked for triple the product. They dropped 2 big bags of cash in episode 4, and we've now got Diamond holding another 2 big bags, compared to the little puny one from Cruz. I mean, it just shows you the difference between the two organizations. CBI have this huge coalition, they've taken over a lot of territory, making a lot of headway with product, Cruz, cash. And even though a couple of guys did switch over to Miguel because of the war with the Marquez cartel, it was only a very small dent, which they have now managed to overcome. Miguel doesn't also look happy at all because it does seem like he's on the brink. If I were in Che's shoes, I'd be looking at the bags of cash that the CBI constantly bring to these meets and asking Miguel the question, why aren't you producing the same results? Which is why Miguel is probably hanging off that cliff. In the trailer for episode 6, Tommy mentions that they're going to push him off that cliff, and he means by beating him at this particular game. He made that promise to Maria that he wouldn't kill him, which is something he definitely will stick by, but this is how he beats him. Now, on Tommy and Diamond's business, it does sound as if they're going to have some problems in episode 6, which will most likely be the start of Tommy turning into that lone wolf and being kicked out of CBI. We know they've disagreed on business before, but this time around, I do think Diamond's had enough. He's sick of Tommy treating him like a number 2. And even though Tommy's the reason why CBI are in the position they're in, again, it looks like we may see Tommy making another deal with a new player, which may potentially be behind Diamond's back. I wouldn't even be surprised because they are laying the foundation for an eventual split, especially when we have Jannard also introducing CBI to a new hustle. On one side, we may have Tommy making a move of his own behind Diamond's back, and on the other side, we may have Jannard and Diamond meeting with some new players, which does seem like the new hustle that was mentioned in the synopsis. And again, just like last week, Tommy is nowhere to be seen, because this is Jannard trying to make a move to get back on top. So Diamond and Jannard are going to continue to strengthen their bond in episode 6, and it does look like the hustle that Jannard will be bringing to the CBI will also play a part in Tommy being kicked out of their coalition. Definitely big problems ahead for Tommy, that's for sure. But at the same time, earlier this week, I did also advise caution when it comes to CBI. There will at some point also be a tear straight down the middle, and I reminded you of this scene that we still haven't seen from the official trailer. I'm not sure if it's something we'll see in episode 6, probably not, it seems like it may be too soon, but definitely is something to keep in mind. Jannard may be making all these moves, but in the long run, the CBI's coalition will no doubt be at breaking point. Now, something else which will also be at breaking point is Jannard and Shanti's relationship. She was already thinking back in episode 4 that she betted on the wrong brother, she had that conversation with Raheem, and no doubt she's definitely going to be plotting her next move as well, which probably doesn't involve Jannard. We've also got Tommy and Shanti in conversation as well, and Tommy needs to be very careful. Shanti definitely can't be trusted, but at the same time, when he is kicked out of CBI, which may be in episode 6, maybe in episode 7 or 8, that's when they'll have something in common, and where their interests may start to align. Till then, Shanti definitely can't be trusted. She's going to be playing her own game. Even after when Tommy's kicked out of the CBI, she still won't be able to be trusted, but that's when Tommy will need a few new alliances, which is kind of jumping ahead a few episodes. But the point I'm trying to make is they are now laying the foundation for that to happen in episode 7, 8, and it's something we're definitely going to see start to play out with them leaving the breadcrumbs in episode 6. But that's a wrap for the preview for all things episode 6. Another thing to bear in mind just before I let you go, Gary Lennon did tease there may be a returning character in episode 6. I will put the exact quote up from Gary Lennon, so let's definitely keep our eyes peeled for that. With that being said, drop all your final predictions down below in the comment section for all things episode 6. And as usual, I will see you guys back here for my episode breakdown sometime in the late morning or early afternoon. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.